This is my my mock draft if I was the GM of every single team. Um, if you came from TikTok, I already had the first 14, but I'm going to talk about them more in depth. So, for the first pick, like I said on TikTok, I would go with Cooper Flag. Um, he's just legit, man. Does everything well. It's really hard to even. You could talk for a long time about him, just about all the good things he does. I would just say, at the most, he's gonna probably be an All NBA player. Could easily be a Hall of Famer, and I mean for Dallas, this is just a guy that's gonna keep your franchise good for a long fucking time. They could honestly be a really scary playoff team as early as his rookie fucking year. I think he could be an All Stars rookie year. Probably won't be because that just doesn't happen. But I think he's good enough to be, especially on this Dallas Mavericks team. And man, the Mavericks just get super lucky here, which, I don't love. Um, and this isn't even me predicting, but me, GM, any GM, they're all gonna go with Cooper Flag number one. And yeah, I mean that's it. That's exactly what I'm gonna do here. Number two, this is super interesting here because the Spurs, I've kind of been hearing they might keep it, which is I think super interesting. It's definitely Dylan Harper. When I'm thinking about the fit, Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox, I don't love it honestly. But Dylan Harper just has such a good handle, such a good player, easily my second best player in the class. I don't know. I don't know how you don't draft him, even if you end up trading him. Um, it's just worth it, I think, for him to play first, because then people will see how damn good he is instead of just trading the second pick. I think, and maybe you could find a way to have De'Aaron, Stephon, and Dylan work. It's probably easier to make that work when you have a guy like Wemby on your team as well. So, I mean, I think this is an easy pick. If they do end up keeping it, it's for sure Dylan Harper. And I think Spurs fans will be happy with Dylan Harper in the long run. Three, this one's interesting because you could say, you know what, maybe we go more shooting like a guy like Trey Johnson, or maybe you go with another like two guard that's ultra athletic and will play good defense like VJ Edgecombe. I don't think so. I think you just go with Ace Bailey. Um, Even if Ace Bailey doesn't work out like people might be projecting for him, he's still going to be a good defensive player. He's going to get steals. He's going to get blocks. He's super athletic, super lengthy. And on offense, he is a good shot maker. Yeah, does he take a little bit too long to actually shoot the ball sometimes? Does his handle not the greatest at times? Does he do too much sometimes? Is his playmaking not great? Yes. Are all these things true? Yes. But at the same time, it's like if you just simplified his offense and said, you know what, you got to just play off Embiid, play off Maxey, you're going to have to just shoot the ball when you're open. I think he can do it. He makes tough shots. He shoots insanely hard shots. So when you look at his true shooting and his field goal percentage, I think you have to give him some grace there because of the shots he's shooting. And I think he's just going to be a guy that can knock down shots and will play good defense, get you stocks. And I think this is also a pretty easy selection, if I'm being honest, because then if he really does work out, he can end up being another fucking star next to Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Coming in at number 4, this is also a pretty easy selection, at least for me. I think this guy fits perfectly with the Hornets, and like you've also seen on TikTok, if you came from there, it's VJ Edgecombe. I mean, VJ, he's ultra athletic. He plays very hard. He's a really good defender. He wasn't the most efficient whatsoever, but I don't. I think he also was leaned on to do a lot of the scoring at Baylor, something he won't be leaned on to do nearly as much for the Hornets. I think he plays off LaMelo and Brandon Miller really well. He can hit open threes. He can get to the hoop. And then defensively is what I'm most intrigued in here. The Hornets really need someone like him defensively that can guard the best player when they have a guard that is the opposing best player, because LaMelo's not going to be that. LaMelo can't guard anything. And so I think this is a perfect fit for the Hornets. I think this is for sure what they should do. I think this is what they're going to do. Any mock I ever do is I'm going to have the same thing every single time. I'm going to have VJ Edgecombe to the Hornets every single time. My top 4 I would be shocked if it changed. I don't know why it would change. And I think, I would go with VJ Edgecombe here. The Jazz here is where I've really struggled to choose. I've thought about Trey Johnson a ton. I think he's a fucking amazing player. He can really score. He's pretty athletic. He plays super hard. I mean, I really like Trey Johnson a ton. The Jazz are also my favorite team, so I've thought about this the most. I've seen Concanepo. I mean, he's a really good offensive player. I think he comes in and he contributes right away to the Jazz. I think he helps the offense for sure. My concern is I think his ceiling is honestly not that high. The way I see Concanepo is I just see him being a really solid starter. That's just kind of how I see him. I see him being able to shoot, smart offensive player, decent defender. He's not going to hurt your defense, I don't think. But I don't think that's what you go for 5. What the Jazz really need, in my opinion, is a point guard. I don't think Collier is a long-term point guard at all. I don't like Collier whatsoever. I think Keontae George is more of a shooting guard, maybe off the bench scorer. And there is a point guard here. There's a scoring point guard here. There's a facilitating point guard here. There's a point guard here that has an amazing handle. And, yeah, he's not a great off-ball player, but I think the Jazz need a guy. I think he has the potential to be a guy. Yeah, he also has the potential to end up just being kind of a scorer like Keontae George as well. But I'm kind of leaning this way because, like it says in the team needs up here, point guard is severe, and I actually do agree with that. And that's why I'm going with Jeremiah Fears. Amazing scorer, play makes really well, incredible handle, amazing handle, pretty good size. He shot it well at the combine, even though he shot 28% at Oklahoma from 3. At the combine, he shot it well. I think that shows I think he's a better shooter than his percentage shows because he's just fearless. He was leaned on to do everything at Oklahoma. He shot some insanely hard shots, and I think he's a better shooter than 28% says. And I think this is a huge upside swing for the Jazz, and I really like Jeremiah Fears, so I think it has a decent chance of working, and this is what I would do for the Jazz. At number 6, we have the Washington Wizards. And some things you could look for. You could look for another shooter like Trey Johnson. If you look at the shooting guard position, I mean, you don't really have the shoot. Like, you have Jordan Poole, but I don't think he's a long-term player. They drafted Bob Carrington last year. You have Keyshawn George. So you could look at a guy like Trey Johnson, Concanepo, if you wanted to address shooting. I think something that they've addressed a lot of is defense. And a position I think they're missing a little bit. I know Alex Sarr is technically a center. I could see him more as a 4 and a 5. And I don't think they really have a crazy skilled offensive big man. And I think there's a perfectly skilled offensive big man on the board here. And that is why ultimately I'm going with Derek Queen, one of my favorite players. I think he's going to be an all-star in this league. Like, you see the weight there, 246. He is a big person, 6'10", 246. But he moves. Like, when I watched Derek Queen at Maryland, he can get around guards. He will catch at the top of the key or at the free throw line. He'll rip through and get around guards. And that's just something that is so rare to me to see. I think he's one of the best offensive players in the class. I think his defense is a little underrated as well. Yeah, he's not going to be a crazy rim protector like a Kaman Maluwaj, but I think he can guard on the perimeter. He can move like insanely well for how much he weighs and how big he is. I don't even understand how his body is able to move like he does. But I think he's going to be an all-star level player, and I think for Washington, this might be my favorite pick of the draft at this point if it happened, and that's why I do it. Washington fans might be a little confused if they don't know Derek Queen that well. They might be like, we have Alex Sarr. I'm telling you, he can play next to Alex Sarr. I think Alex Sarr actually complements him very well, and this would be an insanely good pick for the Washington Wizards. At 7, we do now have the New Orleans Pelicans, and at this point when you're drafting, I don't think you can pass up on this guy, and that's why I'm going with Trey Johnson. Definitely the most talented guy on the board for sure. I do think he's going to go higher than this on draft night because this is just what I would do. But if this did end up happening, I think the Pelicans look at it and it's like, okay, no way this guy fell to us. No way this guy this talented, this good of a shooter falls to us at 7. And he did. And I think they don't think about it much. They're just like, oh, yeah, Trey Johnson easily. And I think he provides a lot for them. He's pretty athletic. He shoots the ball very well. And he's just a really fucking good player. And, yeah, home run pick for the Pelicans at 7. At 8, we have the Brooklyn Nets. I think the Brooklyn Nets need to find some sort of identity in their team. I don't really think they have it. They kind of just have a lot of people. And I think this is a pick where you have 4 first-rounders, and this could be the start of addressing an identity, addressing a certain level of player and a certain level of aspect to basketball, and that's why I would go with Kaman Malawach. Best defender in the class, insanely amazing rim deterrent. If you need to see it on full display, watch the Alabama game that there was in March Madness. The Alabama game, he was fucking spectacular. He sets incredible screens. He is fucking huge, 7'2", 250. Yeah, his rebounding numbers aren't the best. That's maybe something you would want more of. I'm not too worried about that, though. I think he helps your offense. I think he helps your defense. Well, he helps your defense immensely. I think he's an all-star level player based on the number. Like in college basketball, if there were all-stars, I think he deserved to be an all-star. His counting stats don't necessarily say he should be an all-star, but I think he should have been, just the way he impacts winning. And I think he would impact winning for Brooklyn long term, and he could really shift the identity in this team and start something here. At number 9, the Toronto Raptors are up. And if you look at their team, I don't know if I like Emmanuel Quickly, honestly, long-term at the point guard spot. I think he's more of just kind of like a scorer dude. And I think there's a person that addresses that well here in Kasper Siakachonis. The Raptors have people who can take pressure off of him. Like, really, they didn't have at Illinois. They were relying on him a little bit too much. He's a pretty good rebounder for a point guard. He has good size at 6'6". He's an amazing passer. That's like the best thing you have here. You have an initiator of offense. You have a dude when there's pressure taken off of him, he's going to be better. He's going to thrive more, and I think the Raptors could use that to their advantage. And then as scorer, I like his shot. He's not going to blow by people. He's not going to be a 1A scorer type of guy. Of course not. But he's a guy that is really good. And I think for the Raptors long term, they would really be happy with this selection. At number 10, the Houston Rockets get a guy that I have marked to them a ton. Since the draft lottery has happened, it seems this always falls this way, and I think it's a home run pick for them. I think he fits perfectly, and it's Colin Kneppel. Offensively, he can shoot. He is smart. He plays on 2 feet well. He makes the right play. He has good size for being a shooting guard. I think people say on defense, his defense isn't good. He's going to get picked on. I don't see it. Duke could not have been the defense they were if he was a dude that could just get picked on all the time. He's not. Yeah, is he athletic? No, he's not. And he's not going to be a lockdown defender by any means, but I don't think he's a liability. I don't think he ruins their defense at all, and I think he really improves their offense a ton. At 11, we have the Portland Trailblazers. And I don't know. There's a lot of things you could think of here. The thing I think I like the most is Chase Richardson, just the player he is. Insanely good shooter, insanely smart offensive player. And I don't know. If you're Portland, you could think we don't need a guard. Realistically, there's a lot of positions that you don't necessarily need. I think you just take talent. I think he's maybe the most talented guy on the board, especially offensively. He just does a ton. I don't think Anthony Simons is going to be there long term. And for Portland, I think Chase Richardson fits well more than people think. Yes, he's super small. He's not necessarily a point guard, I would say. He's more of a just guard in general, not point guard. So I could see the concerns here. I really like him. I'm taking a good basketball player. I'm not taking him based on his fucking height, which I know matters, but I'm just going to select who I think is a good basketball player, and I know Chase Richardson's a good basketball player. Next up, you have the Chicago Bulls. I think there's a player that, kind of like what I was saying for Kaman Malawach for Brooklyn, there's a player here that can do similar things for the Bulls, and that is Colin Murray-Boyles. One of the best defenders in the class, probably the second best defender in the class, I think. Maybe third, actually, behind Cooper Flagg as well. But he's an outstanding defender. I think his scoring is a little underrated. Yeah, he can't shoot the ball at all, but he can finish. I mean, look, 17 points per game for them. For South Carolina, they were not a good team, but when he was on the floor, they were a good team. He rebounds the ball really well, and like I'm saying, defensively he is legit. He's a legit defender. He will change their defense, and I think he will be really fucking impactful for the Bulls. And I think this is best available for sure as well, and a pretty obvious pick for the Bulls here at 12. At 13, you have the Atlanta Hawks, and I think there's a couple ways you could go. You could pick a guy that could take some of the handle duties off of Trae Young like Yegor Demon. Now, I am not a Yegor Demon fan whatsoever, so I would not be doing that. I will not take Yegor Demon. I don't like him, and if I was the GM, I would say, nope, I'm not taking him. Even if he fits some of the things that I think Atlanta could use, I still wouldn't take him because I don't like him. I actually am taking best available probably to my head. Him and this guy, Nathan Newell, are my best available. Well, actually, and one more guy that I'll talk about soon. But I would go with Noah Sengue here. I think he fits well next to Trae Young. He's a play finisher. He's a good defender. He gets to the rim. He draws free throws. He shot it not great, but I think there's a way you can have optimism about his shot. And I think he's just a guy that can contribute. He's young. He could end up being a really, really, really good player in the future for him. And I think it's someone that Atlanta should select here with the 13th overall pick. At 14, the San Antonio Spurs, going with the other guy I talked about in Ace Noah. I think he fits the Spurs amazingly. Very, very, very good offensive rebounder. He scores the ball well. Good defender. I think he fits well next to Wembanyama. And even when Wembanyama is out of the game, I think he fits well because their defense did go down a lot with Wemby when he came out of the game. And I think having a backup center, maybe an Asa Newell, and someone that can play next to Wemby. But when you play him as a backup center, I think Asa Newell could be the guy that keeps your defense afloat, gets offensive rebounds, just makes winning plays, and will help San Antonio win, and he will contribute to winning now and in the future. The OKC Thunder are up, and I think there's a guy here that fits them absolutely perfectly. When you're thinking about OKC, their roster is almost perfect. They're probably going to win the finals, and there's a guy here that, for one, can shoot the ball really well. You don't want to lose defensive identity. Well, I'll tell you, this guy right here, you're not going to lose defensive identity. He might be the fourth best defender in the class. And he doesn't do too much. He doesn't do too much whatsoever. He will just shoot. He attacks. He's not going to be an isolation scorer, but they don't need that. And I think for here you go, Rasheer Fleming. Perfect player, perfect fit, good rebounder. Does literally everything that OKC has and wouldn't mess anything up. Doesn't do too much. They would be fucking legit. He might play year one. He might not. They don't need him necessarily to, but if he did, he wouldn't mess anything up. He would do the things that everyone else already does and could contribute right away. I think this is a absolutely perfect pick for OKC, and it's a little ridiculous that they can get a guy like Rasheer Fleming right here. Next up, the Orlando Magic are up, and there's a guy here. I'm going to actually end up scrolling down decently far to find him because this app does not have him ranked very high, but I do. I have him ranked much higher than this, and it is Adou Thiaro. The Magic are known for picking size. He has good size at 6'8", 220. His free throw rate was fantastic. He gets to the rim extremely well. He's a really good defender that wouldn't jeopardize the Magic's defensive identity at all. And I think he has all-star potential. Maybe a hot take. I really fucking love Adou Thiaro. I think I really genuinely could see him being an all-star. And I think this is a pick where this can almost be franchise-altering for the Magic in the future. Next up, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves, and this is an interesting one. You could think picking a project player, maybe a more long-term fit, because they've shown they were going to do that last year with Rob Dillingham. They're looking to fit a team next to Anthony Edwards long-term. They think Anthony Edwards is fucking amazing, which he is. You could think about someone like Carter Bryant. I really thought about that hard for a while. Like, man, Carter Bryant. I really like Carter Bryant for them. And I'm almost convincing myself right now to select Carter Bryant for him, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick with Liam McNeely, who I had. The one thing about Liam McNeely is he was fucking fantastic next to talent. Now, with UConn, he had a very, very, very down year. because UConn was not that talented. But with Minnesota, who is extremely talented, I think he would end up being a three-point shooter that you can really rely on. I think he will be a player that is just awesome for them. You've seen at times Minnesota shot the ball really fucking bad. And I think with the talent they have, he would get open looks, and he will be able to knock down open looks. He's a really fucking good player when he plays next to talent. And he's also super young, someone that can fit Anthony Edwards' timeline too. Same thing as Carter Bryant would. And I really like Liam McNeely here. I know a lot of people are lower on him. I'm not, because, well, I'm not lower on him, especially if he's playing with talent. So Liam McNeely is an obvious pick here for me. Well, not obvious pick, but a good pick, I should say. But next up, you have the Washington Wizards. And something that I think they've picked a lot of is defense. And I don't think this guy jeopardizes their defense at all. I think he fits their timeline with the young players they have. I think he can be a reliable shooter. I think he has a great body. And I actually just talked about him and Carter Bryant. If I was the Wizards, I would be fucking hyped about this pick. Carter Bryant will probably go higher on draft night, if I were to guess. I necessarily don't have him higher in this mock draft because I like other guys as well. But, I mean, if you're a Wizards fan getting Derek Queen and Carter Bryant, I would be absolutely excited. I know his numbers look horrible. His usage rate was not good, but he has an NBA body, 6'8", 220, similar to a Duthiaro. I think long-term this is an awesome fucking pick for the Wizards and someone that will definitely contribute to winning. Next, you have the second pick of the Brooklyn Nets. And, there's a lot of options you could go with here. There's a guy like Yegor Demon, who's fallen in this draft class. Nolan Traore has a lot of upside. Nick Clifford is someone that's really good at everything. You have Cedric Howard, who is a knockdown shooter. Ben Saraf, who's a lefty that's really good. Ultimately here, I actually would go with Will Riley. Now, I was talking about defense earlier. I was talking about how you could start an identity. Will Riley doesn't really necessarily help your defense, but I think Will Riley does a lot of other things. I think he could be a reliable shooter. I think he'd be a reliable offensive player. He has good size at 6'8", and for Brooklyn, I think, honestly, yes, you want an identity, but I think you pick someone who long-term can be a really quality starter for you, do a lot of good things, has a decently high potential, and that's why I would go with Will Riley here. Next up, you have the Miami Heat, and honestly, this is where I would go with Yegor Demon. I think if Yegor Demon was going to work anywhere, it would be Miami. Miami has helped a lot of people work. Yegor did not shoot the ball very good at BYU. He turned it over a lot. I think he's really a weak player. I think anytime that he faces contact, he doesn't handle it well. He doesn't face pressure well. I don't think he's a point guard either by any means. I don't really like him. I'm not high on him. But if you're Miami, honestly, you could think like, yeah, is there potential there? Of course. And I think Miami's the team that can maximize potential better than almost anyone else. And that's why if I were to pick Yegor Demon in the first round, I think Miami's a really good spot for him. Next, you have the Utah Jazz with their second first-round pick. And we addressed the point guard position with the first pick. Here, you could really go with a ton of things. There's a guy like Thomas Sorber you could go with to just have two centers, Walker Kessler and him, at all times playing well. But actually, I'm going to address something that I don't know if they necessarily need. Obviously, you could always use shooting. You could always use a player that's bigger. And I really like this guy, especially next to Fierce, who's a really good playmaker. And I would go with Cedric Howard here. Shot the ball extremely well, has good frame, is a good defender, rebounds well. And did he play a lot? No, he only played about 6 games for Washington State. But in those 6 games, he was awesome. I think he would fit very well long-term. I think he even could be the starter long-term next to Fears and with Keontae coming off the bench. And for Utah, I would be extremely excited getting this guy on my team as just a shooter that also just does everything. Next, you have the Atlanta Hawks. And here is actually where I'm going to address the other ball handler that I was talking about earlier. I think they need a guy that can just handle the ball when Trae Young's not in the game because they don't really have that well. And my favorite guy here is Ben Saroff. I have him ranked higher than 22. I think I have him ranked at like 15 on my big board. It is just hard to find guards that didn't shoot the ball well to go to certain places. It's just harder for them to find. But he has good size, really good playmaking. I actually do trust his shot a little bit more. That's why I have him ranked at like 15 on my big board. And I think he does, for Atlanta, what I was saying is have a guy that can also handle the ball, handle pressure, get them into offense. I think he does all that, and I think he's the best available on the board currently. And I think for Atlanta coming out of this draft with Ben Saroff and Noah Sengue, who are actually teammates in real life, so that could also be a cool dynamic that they already have. But I think coming out with these two would be absolutely amazing for them. Next up, the finals team, the Indiana Pacers. They don't really need anything kind of similar to OKC. They have a really fucking good roster already. That's why they're in the finals. But I think someone that just could fit to what they already have, people that could run in transition, people that are all-around good players, can defend, can shoot, can finish, just do everything because they're an all-around good team, and they need someone that can run in transition, which I really do think this guy can do. I would go with Nate Clifford here. Like I said, he does everything well. I'm not the biggest Nate Clifford fan, but I know he is going to be a really good role player. He can shoot the ball, he can finish, he can rebound, he will run in transition, he can pass if you really need him to. And, I mean, the rich keep getting richer here with Indiana getting a guy like Nate Clifford. Next up, you have the OKC Thunder up again. And honestly, here is where I would address a center, actually. I would address this because Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein missed a lot of time this year, and you could just use this guy as someone that could play if those dudes ever get hurt. Basically, just a depth piece that can defend, won't jeopardize your defense whatsoever, and that is Thomas Sorber. Really good block rate, really good defender, and basically just a depth piece for OKC. He's not going to play much unless there's injuries. But for OKC, I mean, it's just, again, rich getting richer. Same thing what I just said with the Pacers. They don't need him. They don't need him whatsoever. But they could help if, for whatever reason, there's injuries to their team. Next up, you have the Orlando Magic again. And like I've been saying, they like defense. They like size. There is a guy here I like for that. He is kind of a similar mode Fudu Thiaro, like in a different way, which I will explain. But actually, who I would go with at this spot is Drake Powell. I don't necessarily love Drake Powell, but just based on that combine, I think he could be an exceptional defender. And with what the Magic want to do, with having defenders, having people who have good size, I think he fits perfectly with them. He's definitely not my highest ranked player on the board at this time, but just based on what Orlando does and what Orlando has and what I think Orlando's going to continue to try to do with having good size, having elite defense, I think Drake Powell does that exceptionally. If you could ever get some offensive upside from him, I think he would be incredible. I think he would provide an immense amount of value. But at the worst, I think he would be just an elite defender and someone with good size, which Orlando has a ton of, and they could just add more of. Next, you have the Brooklyn Nets. And now, like I was saying earlier, I could address this a little bit more with a guy that defends, can shoot, is aggressive, plays extremely hard, and a guy I really like in Noah Penda. He also defends, like I was saying. He will add that type of defensive mode like Kama Malawach does. Doesn't do too much, so it's not a guy that's gonna be in isolation, that's gonna take away from a guy that you might get with the next pick that could do a lot. And I like this. I think he fits in as a role player long term and can fit the identity that I talked about earlier. Next up, you have the Brooklyn Nets again, and here's where I take more of a long shot swing at someone that could maybe work with Kama Malawach. Maybe Malawach will help him, and having a Will Riley and a Noah Penda next to him would make him also thrive. I think with these three picks, this is the best spot for him to land, and I would go with Nolan Traore. Nolan Troyer did not have a good season, has not had a good season, has not shot the ball well, but he does good things. He gets to the rim extremely well. I think his passing is really good. He tries on defense. Is he amazing at defense? No, not at all, but he really does try. And I think if you surround him with these guys, I think just his effort on defense could make it to where maybe his defense does actually seem a little better than it is. And I think offensively, having a Malawach and a Real Wiley and a Noah Penda next to him, I think could maximize his offense as well. And I think for this draft, having these 4 first-round picks for Brooklyn, this could be a home run draft for them. Next up, you have the Boston Celtics, and this is also a really awesome pick for them. It's Danny Wolf. He slid really far in this draft. I don't think he's going to slide this far in real life. Am I lower on him a little bit? I think he handles pressure very bad. I don't love him as a defender, but he can shoot the ball really well. He rebounds well. And for Boston, when you have all this talent around him, I think this is somewhere where he can really fucking thrive. And this is an awesome pick for them. Rich get richer with this type of pick as well. Next, you have the Phoenix Suns. I think you could address a center problem that you have here because their center depth chart is Mason Plumlee, Nick Richards, and Udoka Azubuike, and that is really bad. Really bad. Kevin Durant will probably be traded. You could just say you're going to go with talent. I don't know if I like that necessarily, but I'm going with Maxime Reynaud. He shot the ball a lot for Stanford this year, shot it decently well, really improved as a senior this year. I think he's just a really solid big man that could – he's not going to be an all-star or nothing, but I think he could be a really quality role player for them. And at this point, they just need a center that can play. I thought about Kalkbrenner here for them as well, but I like Maxime Reynaud because it sounds like, at least based on what the Suns have, they value offense a little bit more, and that's kind of what made me lean Maxime Reynaud for them. Last pick in the first round, you have the Los Angeles Clippers, and I'm just going to highlight a couple guys here. Hugo Gonzalez, I am very low on him, but I just wanted to highlight him. He had one of his best games of the year recently. I think he had like 13 points. He hasn't played very much. He has a very disappointing season. But yeah, does he have some potential? Sure. I definitely would not look here for them. Walter Clayton Jr., he's really fucking good. I would rank him higher on my big board. It's just kind of hard for me to find a spot. Again, a smaller guard. Sometimes it's a little harder for me to find a spot for him, but I really like him. Insane shooter, insanely fucking quick. I think will be good right away. And I'm just going to say it now. This is definitely where I'm leaning towards in the draft is picking Walter Clayton, but I want to highlight some other guys. Cam Jones, I'm lower on. I honestly don't even really want to speak about him because I would not draft Cam Jones until probably like the 50s. A guy like John Behringer is someone I would think about as well as a backup center. I think would also be a really good pick for them because they do need backup center really bad. And that's almost what makes me want to pick a guy like John Behringer or John Broom or Ryan Kalkbrenner. These guys are all really talented. Well, John Broom's just a really good player. Has some limitations, especially athletically, but he's a really good, talented player. John Bellinger. Like you can see in this, I wanted to see. I actually have to draft him to see his stats, but he's just really good all around, good defender, big size. And then you have Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's really fucking big, really good defender. I think would be actually an insanely good pick here at 30 for the Clippers, and that's kind of what makes me want to pick him. But I think if you're the Clippers, you can't pass up on talent. I would go Walter Clayton. His first step is just fucking insane. He's so fast. It's something that I haven't heard enough people talk about how fucking quick he is. He's extremely fucking fast. And his shooting is also amazing. I think his playmaking is really good. I think defensively he's not like insanely good, but I don't think he's hurting you defensively much at all. He tries. And I think he has good defensive instincts. And I think he's a guy that's contributing immediately for the Clippers. Immediately. And he should go higher than this, honestly. I just like other fits better. So whoever gets Walter Clayton, if it's earlier, if it's this, I think in the real draft he's going to go earlier. Because I think there's some guys that I picked higher that won't actually go higher because I don't know if teams will like him as much as I do. But at home run pick here for the Clippers. Contribute immediately, fucking awesome player. I think will be a starter at some point in this league. I think he's just that good. Honestly, I really do. And yeah, I think it's an awesome pick for the Clippers. And that will do it. That's going to do it for my first round mock draft. I'll briefly go over this again. First pick, we went with Cooper Flagg. Second pick, Dylan Harper. Third pick, Ace Bailey. Then to VJ Edgecombe, to Jeremiah Fears for the Jazz. Washington, select Derek Queen. Pelicans, Trey Johnson. Nets, Kama Malawach. Raptors, Kasper Siakachonas. Followed by the Rockets with Colin Knappel. Jace Richardson to the Blazers. Bulls select Colin Murray Boyles. And the Hawks get Noah Sengue. And to round out the lottery, the San Antonio Spurs selected Ace and Thunder get Rasheer Fleming. Magic get Adu Thiaro. Timberwolves get Liam McNeely. Wizards get Carter Bryant. Nets also get Will Riley. Heat get Yegor Demon. Jazz get Cedric Howard. Hawks get Ben Saroff. Pacers get Nate Clifford. Thunder get Thomas Sorber. Magic select Drake Powell. Nets select Noah Penda and Nolan Troy back-to-back. And to round out the first round, Celtics select Danny Wolf. Suns select Maxime Renaud. And the Clippers rounded out with Walter Clayton Jr. And yeah, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave in the comments any disagreements you have. And yeah, I'm out this John. Later.